The three heads of the dragon theory has been a prophecy deep in Game of Thrones lore for years. And in the histories of Westeros, the concept of the three heads of the dragon keep rising. We know that Aegon the Conqueror, Viserion, and Rhaenys conquered Westeros on the back of 3 dragons. And this prophecy came back to Daenerys in the House of the Undying. She saw her brother Rhaegar, and he stated specifically that the dragon has 3 heads. I have no doubt that this prophecy has vital importance to the end of Game of Thrones, and it will definitely play a role in the future outcome of the Long Night. The 3 heads of the dragon are ingrained in the banner of House Targaryen, and are a staple of Targaryen history. And this history seems to be repeating itself when Daenerys went into the fire and the Lord of Light gave her 3 dragons. And it seems to be a natural progression, to have 3 dragon riders for 3 dragons. And instead of just one savior, there's actually going to be 3 dragon riders, and these saviors will help put a stop to the coming darkness. But that was all too good to be true, and this happened. Everyone thought that history would repeat itself and we would see 3 dragon riders. We thought we would see Daenerys ride Drogon as the mother of dragons. We'd see Jon ride Rhaegal as the son of Rhaegar. We also thought we would see Bran or Tyrion ride Viserion. We thought Bran would ride Viserion because he was told that he would fly. And we thought Tyrion could ride Viserion because he may have a potential Targaryen lineage. But all that speculation ended with the death and resurrection of Viserion. So now the very enemy that the 3 dragon riders were supposed to fight is now a dragon rider. And this could be the death of the theory, but I believe that the 3-headed dragon means so much more. It's natural to look at the prophecy at its face value. There will be 3 dragon riders because there are 3 dragons, and 3 potential Targaryen riders. But prophecy's really tricky. It has hidden meanings that one wouldn't really expect. A perfect example of this is Melisandre. Throughout the course of the show, she had all of these prophecies that she thought Stannis would be the one to be Azor Ahai and King of Westeros. And her bias pushed everything on Stannis, even though every vision that she saw in the flames was actually Jon Snow. She thought Stannis would be the one to lead others into the Long Night. The same bias can be applied to the 3-headed dragon. Everyone assumes that there are 3 separate dragons, because there is no such thing as a dragon with 3 heads. But if we take what Rhaegar said at face value, what does it mean? He specifically said, the dragon has 3 heads. The significance is that Rhaegar mentions nothing about 3 dragons. He only speaks of 1 dragon. And this 1 dragon has 3 heads. And this significance is huge, because it's not about 3 dragons or 3 dragon riders, but about 1 single dragon with 3 heads. So the natural question is, who is this dragon? We already know that there are 2 dragons in Game of Thrones. There's Daenerys Targaryen and Jon Snow. Both have been born Targaryen and both are dragons. In order to understand who is the true dragon, we first need to understand what these 3 heads represent. And we can currently see what they mean based on the 3 current dragon riders. The first dragon rider is the mother of dragons herself, Daenerys. She represents everything that embodies Targaryen. She is the dragon. She is fire and blood. She has been reborn in the flames and given dragons from the fire god, the Lord of Light. The second dragon rider is relatively new, and he represents ice and death. He has an army of dead fighting for him as he makes his way south, destroying all life in his path. He's being watched as the 3-eyed raven as he's coming south, destroying every weirwood tree representing the old gods. Daenerys and the Night King are 2 dragon riders on opposite spectrums of existence. One represents life, the other represents death. One is fire, the other is ice. This spectrum of ice and fire, life and death, is vital to the series called A Song of Ice and Fire. It is called a song because the story is about the emergence of both ice and fire. It is the middle of the 2 drastically different perspectives. If you look at the 3-headed dragon, there is always a dragon in the middle. And that prominent dragon in the middle of the other 2 is our final and 3rd dragon. And that dragon is Jon Snow, and he is truly the Song of Ice and Fire. He is a legitimized Targaryen. He represents fire because it is in his blood, and therefore he is the blood of the dragon. But most importantly, he was born a Stark and raised as a wolf. He encompasses the meaning of ice. He is the most Stark out of all of the Stark children. He represents their values, and he does have their blood. Because of this, he is the bridge between 2 opposing forces. He not only fights for the living, but he also experienced death. And he is also being watched by both the Lord of Light and the Old Gods, the 2 opposing religions of ice and fire. Every difference between Daenerys and the Night King is justified through Jon Snow. And this is the prophecy of the 3-headed dragon. They are not 3 riders, but 3 perspectives of 1 dragon. And this dragon is Jon Snow, and he represents the opposing spectrums of A Song of Ice and Fire, as he is the dragon in the middle. He is the bridge between both sides. And this is what Jon has been doing throughout his whole journey. He's been bridging gaps between different types of people. The concept of three is very important to Game of Thrones. Jon may be the three-headed dragon, but his brother is the three-eyed raven. Jon's three heads represent one of ice, one of fire, and the other head represents the combination and fusion of the two. Maybe the only reason Bran can see everything is because the three-eyed raven has three eyes. And these three eyes allow him to see everything, from ice to death to fire and life. And the middle eye lets him see everything in between. There's a reason why his visions always take him back to Jon Snow. Jon is Azor Ahai and encompasses everything from fire and life to ice and death. And Bran is the only one who can watch him. And that makes the three-headed dragon and the three-eyed raven imperative to defeating the Night King.